All right, so our presentation today is going to involve teacher verifying, which was a need that was discovered in our needs assessment survey that I administered to teachers. And during this presentation today, we are going to focus on different parts of teacher verifying that was also determined in a second needs assessment survey that I administered to teachers about what parts they want more focus on. So, teacher verifying, what is it? First of all, today we are going to be working on learning to plan for on-the-spot teacher verifying in order to provide students scaffolded intervention to those students who are identified. So our learning target is, like I said, as follows. I am learning to plan for on-the-spot teacher verifying in order to provide scaffolded intervention to identified students. Our success criteria, which will guide our work today, is going to be number 1, identify roadblocks, and number 2, we are going to plan different differentiated materials. So what does teaming mean? I have a video that I'm going to open off with, and as I open off with that, I'm going to ask that you, friends, please write down any ahas or anything that you noticed throughout the video, and we will have a little time to discuss afterwards.
Process with Organic Sciences. Wow, I have learned so much. I now know the importance of building that scale and looking at those targets that we need to make sure students achieve. Just like one-on-one time, I was given the one-on-one time by one of the coaches, and that has worked wonders for my teaching ability. It really showed me how the scale should be integrated into every single lesson and how the scale should build your lessons. I had not really ever worked backwards like that, but I found that once I did this and put forth the effort, I find it will be a lot easier to start with the complex tasks so I know what I need to get my kids to know to get to that end product.
It creates a roadmap of achievement for students. I think that element will drive that student ownership in schools to a different level, which will have students asking questions to their teachers, and that's a paradigm shift.
Being fortunate enough to observe the entire process from planning to implementation, the one thing that it certainly reinforced with me after seeing many instructional approaches in my years within education is how the utilization of the teaching map is just good teaching, effective instruction.
I think that through this process, they produced lesson plans, rigorous scales and rubrics that they shared with their teams, and that resulted in an infection that was occurring through our school. Teachers were coming to these two teachers to ask, why did you make that decision? Why did you choose that verb or that section of the lesson to focus on? From there, I think that they felt like they were in it together.
Through this process, I have learned that there's always room to grow. I've learned that what I thought I was doing correctly in my own mind, I needed someone with more knowledge in the field just to say, hey, look at it this way, and this is how I want to explain it to you and coach it to you. Through this process, light bulbs went off in my brain going, oh, I get it. I was starting to make connections. So the reason why we're unwrapping the benchmark is to make a scale, is to drive my lesson, is to teach my kids better, is to get them to understand and get them to the complex tasks and the rigor. And I've learned that I have become a better teacher. I learned today I want to practice. I don't want to perfect it. I want to make it permanent so it sticks with me, and I want to teach other teachers so they can have the same feeling and moment that I did today, that I did today.
So I just want to take some time now. This video was chosen to kind of open our PD session today on teacher verifying, because teaming has been a school initiative that we have been working towards for quite some time now, working on becoming a more student-centered classroom, and even working on the integration of skills and the bundling of skills. And so today, like I said, we are going to focus a little bit more on teacher verifying. And I want to start off by just defining that and what teacher verifying is. So what is it? So teacher verifying is on-the-spot verifying of students' work to know what students are meeting, what students are in progress, or what students are not met with the learning targets. And during this time, the teacher is going to have specific questions to provide to students while they're working on the task. So specific questions that are going to get students to that met. Again, teacher verifying, what is it? It's on the spot verifying. It's planned for and it's intentional. Verifying is an opportunity to provide the differentiated instruction that some of our students need. And in addition, teacher verifying helps to focus small group instruction as well as future content instruction. Teacher verifying allows us to know what needs to be taught and what needs to be retaught. So identifying areas to verify. This was a stumbling point for a lot of teachers, and with every rigorous task or with every purposeful task that we create, there's going to be compatible standards or standards that we can bundle together. By bundling these standards, we're going to increase teacher effectiveness. We're going to be more effective with our time management. With every rigorous task, learning targets should always stay true to the heart of each standard. We want to make sure that we are not bundling too many standards together and getting away from the heart of the target. So some other things to consider when identifying areas to verify. Tasks should require students to wrestle with ideas. And every task should encourage productive struggle. Areas in which students are going to experience productive struggle should be determined ahead of time. Then differentiated questions and materials should then be planned to support students during these determined areas of struggle. So this would be an example. You have this at your desk, but this would be an example of one way we can break down learning targets and different questioning we can provide to students at different levels of the target. By having this prepared ahead of time, even though it may be impossible to identify all areas of struggle, by having this prepared ahead of time, we can better be prepared with what we might say to students in the moment while they are working through this productive task. So creating on-the-spot materials. So once areas have been identified of areas that we want to verify, on-the-spot materials need to be created. So as the task is progressing, it's the teacher's job to intentionally provide students with different scaffolded materials. Of course, those students who have been identified. This could be in the form of organizers, probing questions, or even just quick on-the-spot small group instruction known as a micro-intervention that you can provide to students if you notice several students throughout the task struggling on the same area. Again, this could look quite differently depending on the student need. So analyzing data, this is probably one of the most important parts of teacher verifying, because once the areas have been identified, and of course once the materials have been planned, we need to know how to analyze the data and what steps moving forward we need to make. So teacher verifying provides necessary data for informed instructions or decisions to be made. On-the-spot data allows teachers to know how to intentionally group students and even how to better support them during their tasks. In addition, on-the-spot data helps teachers make more aligned instruction and helps them make better future choices. On-the-spot verifying and the data we collect from on-the-spot verifying allows us to know what content needs to be taught again, or maybe we know that our students are more advanced and are ready for a different skill or target than we have planned for. So once again, we want to always use our data that we collect to guide future instruction. That is ultimately the most important part of teacher verifying. So once again, on-the-spot teacher verifying will support the teacher in all the educational decisions that he or she will have to make. Teams, once again, can be more intentionally created. An example of this would be there are times where we want to group students homogeneously, and there will be times where we want to group students heterogeneously, depending on the target and depending on the task. And each purposeful task will look different, and groups are going to constantly be flexible and changing. Again, data is going to help us to determine what materials are needed for the teaching and even what materials are needed for future teaching. So establishing deadlines. So we must create deadlines to hold students accountable. It's very important for every task that exceeds more than 15 minutes. We would want to set a timer for students to also be held accountable, and that they're getting specific parts of the task completed in order to reach the learning target. Once again, here's kind of a real life example that me and my team use, use for on-the-spot verifying. And this, again, can look different grade level to grade level. But my team would break it down by deadline. So again, these would be 15-minute deadlines, so a much larger task that's going to require those 15-minute increments. And M would stand for met, IP for in progress, and NM for not met. And as students are progressing through the task, and as students are progressing through each deadline, we will identify students who are met, in progress, and not met. And for each deadline, it will be different because sometimes the learning target and the success criteria for each deadline will vary. So we would want to do it for every deadline. So here are some MAP scores, some measurement of academic progress, our district MAP scores, to just support the need that our school has identified for teaming, for bundling of standards, and for most importantly, teacher verifying. We must verify in order to know how to differentiate and in order to know how to support students. And through this data, again, you have a copy up close, but through this data, as you can see, we have great jumps in score. 3/4 of the class either met or exceeded their projected growth, which is fabulous. So we have a clear need that what we are doing in our school initiatives are working. And through this session, hopefully we can fine tune some areas such as teacher verifying that we want more practice with. So on your desk you have an article, and it's an article on verifying, and I just want to take some time now to have some collaborative work and discussion. I want you to read through the article silently, and just as we did with the video, please jot down and record any ahas or any points that stick out to you that you would like to share to the group for a greater cause. Give me some time to do that. To bring it back and summarize, great conversation, I really do appreciate that. Teacher verifying, once again, it allows the teacher to respond to student needs. It allows the teacher to respond to student needs and to help with any misconceptions that might arise in the moment. So how might this look for you? I hope that this PD has been beneficial and that all of you have taken something that you can apply to your classroom. And through this time right now, I want you to collaborate and work with your team on different ways that you can bundle standards, but also coming up with a teacher verifying sheet that's going to work for you and your classroom to be most effective for your needs in the moment when you are on the spot verifying. So some future steps. So next year, our schedule will go to a block scheduling, and our direction is going to shift a bit, and it's going to shift away from the traditional small group setup. And we are going to do more of this block whole group time and allow for that small group or intervention to take place during the whole group blocks. So as you can see, we are going to have these all blocks for both reading and math. And our work here today is going to really help us with this future direction that our school is going to be taking next year in the 2019-2020 school year. So I want to end this session by pushing us all a little bit more in our learning. And so we are going to do a book study. And during our next session, when we come back together in a couple weeks, I want to have chapter 1 through chapter 4 of practicing skills, strategy, and processes completed so that we can have a book study and share out some of our findings. We also are going to open up the opportunity for different co-teaching and peer observations to take place. There will be a sign up for any teacher interested in that. Again, what a great way where we can learn from our peers on how this on-the-spot verifying might look and how it's going to look different for all of us. I have a little survey for you to take. I really do appreciate the time. It really means a lot to me. Please log on to the survey. I want to know your thoughts for future feedback and for any future professional development settings that I might be providing. Thank you.